Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome Lindsay to the show where we're going to be talking about self-esteem, money mindset, spirituality, business, and many, many more things. So just a quick introduction to Lindsay, then we'll dive into our conversation today. So Lindsay is a life coach who helps with business breakthroughs, and a business coach who helps with life breakthroughs by combining mindset, EFT tapping, we'll talk about that in a little bit, voice work and singing, subconscious reprogramming, and spiritual mentoring to help you. So, Lindsay, welcome to the show today. Great to have you on and looking forward to the conversation. So, yeah, obviously you're doing bringing many different tools and methods here, really, really exciting. And I've tried some of these myself. And there's a little bit of a combination of business work and the spiritual side, which I absolutely love. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear your story, perhaps, on actually what got you into this area of work and supporting people with this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really unique combination of things. And what led me here was a journey of understanding integration and what a whole person is, what really allows a whole person to come alive and thrive in their business and life. And so the name of my company, actually 5 Sites, is very much speaking to the journey of me learning the 5 centers of our power. So our mind, our body, our spirit, our emotions, and our interconnection. So, for example, the relationship between us, Johnny, we're friends. That is a source of power. That's a source of wisdom. And our interconnection between other humans and even animals and plants is a source of energy and wisdom and resources that we can draw from. So initially, I actually had a very different business. About, 10 years ago, I started my entrepreneurial journey, just basically taking what I had studied in university, what I had started out in my career, my employed career doing, which was branding consultancy. And I just kind of went with this, doing this on my own because I became a mom and a lot of priorities changed. My lifestyle wanted to change. But I found myself really still very what I would call mind-centric, mindset-based, where it was all about, okay, what's practical, what's logical for me to do, right?
Yeah, relate.
Which is natural.
No, I relate. I'm laughing. Yeah.
Yeah, spent 4 years in university, all this money, all this hard work in the employment sphere for years and years grinding. Of course, I'm going to take what I know and start out with that. But as I got into that, I noticed myself being very drawn to the personal, emotional reactions of the clients I was working with. You would think, okay, branding is about a logo and it's about a website and it's about graphic design. It's actually not. It goes way much deeper than that. If you want to be a powerful, potent, magnetic brand, you need to stand behind your values. You need to know who you are, what your mission is about, what the change you want to see. And as I was asking these really deep questions, the clients that were not really ready, truly ready with the answers to those questions would fall apart. And I would be like, whoa, what's going on? That really intrigued me. And so I actually ended up closing that business, even though it was doing really well financially. And that was a huge moment for me to then start to investigate what is my spiritual calling. And it was such a huge, scary decision to shut down this very logical, practical money-making business and go into, if you can believe it, I went into being a chaplain. So when you're a chaplain, what you're doing is you're holding rites of passage, you're holding ceremonies. I was at celebrations of life, weddings, graveside services, funerals, holding space in this completely different capacity for people. And that is really where this whole other world of my spiritual side got to open up. And from there, it's just, once I opened up working on my body and training for a triathlon and experiencing the power of that, it just became this journey of realizing, wow, all of this power, all of this wisdom, all of this confidence, all of this awe and reverence for life and life force and humanity came from exploring these other areas and finally integrating them all together. And that's when I had the desire. I'm going to start my business, 5 sites, helping kind of people create their life and business from this place of integration.
Oh, wow. Very powerful journey. Thank you for like touching on that, Lindsay, and actually felt like I was on it with you going through that whole way. And yeah, just going from that, I can, like I said earlier when we were laughing, like can relate from that very logical, we need to do this and this. So kind of project management background and sort of a bit of a sales background. It's quite easy to get into that. And actually, even the last year, I've been exposed more to the spiritual side. And sometimes it's tricky to begin with. It's like, hang on. So I'm just literally standing here experiencing this. What's it going to give me? What's the outcome? It's quite
Yeah.
It's just and then it's conversations with my somatic one-to-one coach are always interesting. Great coach, amazing coach. But yeah, like for you, what leads me on and onto like the next question really is a lot of the time, like particularly in the business world, we're like making decisions or moving into things, but it can apply to life as well. What's your experience of going with logic versus going with intuition, or is it a little bit of both, like in your personal experience?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I would say it's both. And when we can honor both, we're able to develop discernment. Discernment is the ability to sense into your own knowing. And sometimes your logical and practical knowing is the right thing to follow. Sometimes your intuitive knowing or the calling or some kind of sense. Sometimes people talk about feeling called by a spiritual source or something, or their own internal intuition. And I have practiced doing both. And I find that it's honoring both that is really important. We need to kind of get away from this paradigm of either or, this or that. Like there's absolutely no reason why you can't apply intuition and also apply some practicality. So for example, when I initially started saying yes to this inner knowing that I had powerful songs and song work and singing work to do with people, my first instance was like, yeah, this is really important. How do I get it out there? Right. So then it's like, okay, I've got that intuitive calling, but then I need to apply my logical brain and go, okay, well, what would be the most logical step to go from, I'm not a professional singer. I have right. Like I don't have any channels out there, any albums or anything, to then go, okay, well, I probably need to look for somebody who can help me produce and fully compose and record, has a recording studio to make these things possible. So in that regard, it's like, well, yeah, then the logical mind gets to have the role once it has the direction from the intuition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Like using both. And I think kind of from my life and also people I've known, like when we're thinking sort of a business and life sense, I've had people go like working a 9 to 5, a couple of people, and they're like, intuitively, this isn't right for me. And yeah, that's probably right. Like it wasn't fulfilling. Like one of them just kind of jumped out of her job, had a couple of months savings, didn't really have a business idea, and then was really struggling. Like another one was fortunately a financial planner, but going into a different niche, and had like a year's worth of runway, backup plans, and actually intuitively fell into like, okay, it doesn't feel right for me to continue being a financial planner. However, I've got this logical plan in order to follow what I feel is right at the moment. So yeah, it's quite interesting, that example. Like for me, I know I've invested in things when I'm like, Yeah, I could have, yeah, that feels right. And actually, logically, that can work out. But like, there's something like, you know, a Tony Robbins highest program, which is $100,000 for a year. Like, yeah, that
Hmm.
feels right for me. But logically, I'm not going to do that tomorrow. It's so I find
Yeah.
that personally in my own life. But you know, I have got a detailed plan of how I'm going to get there. So yeah, no, it's really interesting your view on that. That does make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. The timing element is really fascinating, right? Because there's so many ways we can view time, like what you were saying about the Tony Robbins investment. I mean, yeah, absolutely. If that is a calling for you and you know it in your bones, like that's what you want to do. Well, guess what? There is a certain series of yeses and steps that you need to make beforehand before you can make what I would call the big yes. And this is something that I was actually talking with somebody the other day with as we were talking about, we had a session together and she was telling me about, oh my gosh, Lindsay, after our session, like I had 3 out of 4 people say yes to my coaching. That's never
Oh
happened
wow.
before. I had a viral video, like a video go viral on TikTok. I have been filling up with sales calls and selling my products like hotcakes ever since our session. And I was like, that's amazing. And there may have been that one kind of breakthrough point of our session, of course, but I showed her a picture of the infinity symbol. Do you know the infinity
Yeah,
symbol?
yeah.
And I drew a bunch of little yeses all on one side. And I said, the reason why you were able to have that breakthrough is because you said yes, 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 yes here. You did the work. You put the things in place. You know who you're talking to. You've got your guidebook. You've got your freebie. You've got your this, that. She's taken so many steps to prepare her for that one breakthrough yes from the universe saying, okay, now all the abundance is coming your way. We just had to tweak a couple things in that session, but it was all those steps before. So I'm like, I didn't really do anything, like it's all you. But we just had to, clear some energy for you. And that abundant yes from the universe was able to respond to you. So exactly, like what you're saying is what you're going to do is you're going to say all those little yeses in order to say that big yes and have that big
Mm.
answer. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, you've inspired me. And, you know, I'm doing that to yeses I've been saying yes to in recent times as well. So, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes total sense to me. And it's great to hear there's a good example of your client as well. And that's exciting to hear, like those little breakthroughs and breakaways that they come away with sometimes as well. Love it.
Yeah, yeah. It's not, see, the thing is it's not a linear process. So when I
Mm,
have people draw the infinity symbol
mm,
with their fingers, it's like, remember, this is flow. There's no such thing as a yes, 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 and it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. It's like, okay, there's going to be yeses, there's going to be one big yes. It's going to bring you back around through learning, through wisdom, through growth, through development, through success. And then you get to go through the yes, 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 yeses again. And it just keeps circling like that. So it's like call and response, which is again why part of the reason why I use like singing and song work. It's such a embodied practice of understanding how the universe works, how our bodies work, how forward momentum and action and things work. So call and response. I'm going off on a tangent now, but if you're not in the kind of singing world or the music world, it is a type of singing or even music playing. If you've ever listened to jazz, where the trumpet goes and then like the saxophone answers back, and so it's sort of like that's a great representation of that's exactly how the universe and our co-creation in it works. We do something, burr, 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 and then the universe answers back, burr, 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 and it just kind of keeps going.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Unfortunately, not got much musical talent, but it does make sense even the way you described it. And yeah, the universe and us making music between ourselves. Love it. Love that way. So kind of like touching a little bit on the abundance, the connection with the universe, but something I mentioned that would be quite useful to touch on because I know it's and really your views be really appreciated on this, because I know it's quite a sensitive subject and tough subject for a lot of us, and it's the subject of money, but also like linking it to like self-esteem, and like from your own experience and working with other people, how do you feel like money impacts self-esteem and vice versa?
Hugely, hugely. Yeah. Money, and especially money shame, has a massive influence on people's self-esteem, self-worth, and confidence. I have had my own experiences of moving through it myself and knowing the impacts of, let's say, money shame on my self-confidence, my thoughts about myself, my self-worth, the worthiness of my work. And I've witnessed and held clients through and had helped clients through a lot of different money mindset blocks, and it definitely has a huge impact on people.
Yeah, and is there anything that's helped you like work through it a little bit, whether that was maybe a more spiritual practice, or it's just been a case that, or clients that's a spiritual practice, or a case of building a better relationship with yourself?
Definitely. There are a lot of things we can do, but where I really love to start people off is with a deeper understanding of what I call the 7 faces of money shame, because oftentimes this is where we're starting from. We have lots of people have a difficult relationship with money, and they're not always kind of aware of how much maybe shame and guilt is involved in those feelings, is involved in that relationship. And one of the reasons why that is because it's really not dissected and talked about all that much out there. Even in money mindset books that I've read, they go from, oh, feeling so bad about money to, oh, just do these affirmation practices or just do these journaling practices, and then you're all good. You're suddenly in love and enjoy with money. And that's simply not the case, because it is such a leap. But that leap isn't talked about. It's a graduated step. So going right, if we bring this back to the yes, 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 yes kind of model, the graduated steps of going from shame, which is about the low, like what we would call a low vibration, a collapsing kind of energy. The steps from shame to joy actually go in a graduated step: shame, guilt, anger.
Map of
Then
consciousness.
neutrality, neutrality,
Thinking of,
acceptance. So the Hawkins consciousness levels.
Hawkins.
So a lot of people hurt themselves in thinking they can go from shame or guilt straight to joy without ever going into acceptance. So when I like to tell people about the 7 faces of money shame, this really helps people understand, okay, at this basic level of shame, where is my shame emanating from? And I really, if you don't mind, I'd love to break these down, just tell you about the 7 faces of money shame, because I think that could really help a person understand, okay, yeah, this makes sense why I'm feeling this way.
Absolutely.
So
No, that'd be great, Lindsay. Yeah, immediately when you started talking about shame and those vibrations and the map, like the Hawkins map of consciousness, being a little bit familiar with power versus force, and yeah, it's that kind of clicked for me there immediately. And you're right. These money mindset books are often what I've got is like, it's like, oh, really struggling. Be gratitude, feel gratitude. So yeah, maybe that breakdown would be really useful.
Yeah. Okay. So the 7 faces of money shame. Where does our shame come from? You could be experiencing all 7 of these, or maybe there's just 1 or 2 where you can identify, okay, yeah, this is where my shame is coming from. So number 1 is you've never had money. Okay. So let's say you grew up in a really struggling household, and you've always struggled having money. And so shame can emanate from just that fact of growing up in that, and then never feeling like you have money, comparing yourself to those who do. The second face of money shame is you've had money, but you've lost it.
Mm.
And so this can occur two ways. One is there's been a situation out of your control, a natural disaster, a fire. Maybe your business burns down. It's a physical business. Maybe you get sick with an illness, or you end up some, accident, and all of a sudden you're not able to work at the capacity you were before, or your recovery time is so long that you lose your business. So those two things: had money but lost it, either something out of your control, or the second way you can lose money, of course, is a decision that you make, right? Let's say, so I've been through this before. I've made a massive investment into some kind of program or some kind of investments, out there in the world of investing, and I haven't returned my investment, or like literally the money was lost, right? And so that was a decision of mine. And it's interesting how I noticed a difference in my shame reaction to out of control. So for example, when the pandemic hit, I had in-person seminars that completely disappeared overnight. Right? They were shut down. That was like 20 grand of revenue that was immediately just gone overnight. And so I had to turn around and go, okay, what I'm going to do about it. I found like I didn't actually have any shame about that. I was like, okay, this is an issue. I can deal with it. But when it came to, let's say, decision-based things that lost my money, where I made a decision and I lost my money. Oh my God, the shame of that was so heavy. And it was so interesting to compare the difference between those two. So I just point that out to help any of your listeners go, okay, out of control, sometimes we can have shame about that. Sometimes the heaviest shame is from decisions we've made where we feel like we have made a mistake, or we're interpreting and perceiving, oh, I made a mistake, and so I have to be ashamed about making that mistake. The third face of money shame is carrying debt. So we have all kinds of programming and stories around debt is bad. And also, but sometimes carrying debt is just hard. It's heavy. It's causing you to have to make decisions about where your money's going to go. And that can carry a lot of shame when you're having to say no to things in order to, let's say, pay back your debt. Number 4 is you're working hard. Working so hard, doing everything you can. You're intelligent. You've got these brilliant ideas, brilliant business, but you're still not where you want to be after years of working on it. That number 4 type of working hard shame is also very heavy. Then we have number 5, which is struggling with managing money. So let's say we're talking about habits or addictions, spending addictions. Very common, a lot more common than people realize. And that can have a lot of shame to it, right? Where you don't feel in control, or you don't believe you're managing your money well. The 6th phase of money shame is you've got, and this is something that I never see in money and mindset books. It's never anywhere. And that is where your health needs are high. Let's say you live with a chronic illness, or you live with mental unwellness, and you have to spend a lot of money on healing. So this is, I've had some chronic illnesses in my lifetime, and the amount of expense I had to go to find healing because the regular medical system was just not giving me the answers. All of that healing came right out of my pocket. So when we're talking about people that have chronic illness, a lot of people feel so much shame for their chronic illness and the expense and the money they feel is being taken away from their family just for them to be able to thrive or even survive day to day. So that's something that I see in clients, and I've experienced it myself. And then the 7th phase of money shame is affluence and privilege. And this is almost like a shame kind of guilt, where you have grown up in affluence, you've grown up in privilege, you're privileged, you're a self-aware person, and you know that there's disparity in the world and inequity in the world, but you actually feel a lot of shame for being part of the privileged population. And that is another thing that I never see talked about in money mindset books, because a lot of the money mindset books are based from written by someone who has, let's say, grown up in that struggle in the poverty kind of household versus someone who's grown up in an affluent household. But this is one of the myths that exist about money out there. Just because you grow up in an affluent and privileged household doesn't necessarily mean you have a healthy mindset or had healthy beliefs or healthy imprinting on you about money or about abundance, which encompasses love, creativity, time, trust in yourself. So yeah, those are the 7 faces of money shame.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Lindsay. I was particularly like, it made sense. I'm not surprised, but I was kind of like on hearing it, but on the health needs and the affluence and the privilege makes a lot of sense to me. Not like I can relate to some of these as well. Like, yeah, like, you know, so we hear certain things around debt and things like that. And yeah, like for me, I must admit the health needs, not necessarily, although kind of following certain diets, sometimes like to follow a vegan diet and buy like certain omega-3 and it's just a lot more. And so it makes a lot of sense, but let alone a medical condition, right? That's going to be, that's going to be hugely so. And then having that privilege. So yeah, these make a lot of sense. And it was like really interesting to hear a couple of those. Well, all of them, of course. No, appreciate that, Lindsay. And yeah, got quite a few notes there for myself. So yeah, just before we kind of like wrap up, I wanted to touch on for you, like having just talked about like money, self-esteem, how it impacts on your self-worth and everything. Just a little bit about like how you found like the power of investing in yourself and maybe some of your experiences around that.
Yeah. Investing in self is hugely important. We are, what's inside of us? I mean, the amount of power inside of us is so vast. What is inside of each person is so rich. Inside of you is a richly abundant self. And when we invest in ourselves to open up our capacities, to go inside and look inside and say, hey, wow, look at who I really am at my core, beyond all this learned programming, beyond all these stories, beyond these beliefs that I've taken up over my lifetime. And we get to the core essential, what I call the core essential abundant self. Oh my goodness, the things that flow from there are incredible, right? We're talking about brilliant ideas, positive impact making ideas, businesses, nonprofits, you name it, gifts that you can give to the world, art, music, books, whatever it is that, is your thing. And so investing in self to open up those aspects of yourself is hugely important. And again, coming back to this idea, sometimes we get very focused on just opening up things for our mind. And we forget, oh, wait, there's actually wisdom in my body. And so oftentimes I'm talking to clients and saying, hey, like, what have you done for your body lately? Are you going to go out dancing? Are you going to, do this yoga class? Are you going to go to a retreat where you're dancing around a fire or something, woo-woo like that? But it's because it's engaging the body in a way where that wisdom can start to flow out, and that inspiration and that connection with yourself can be melded together. That just makes you such a more inspired person who is like affirming your life with everything that you have within you, rather than kind of operating from this, oh, okay, I'll just do what I'm told, or just do the, the thing I'm supposed to do, get the job, get the house, get the kids, and carry on. So yeah, investing in yourself, mind, body, spirit, investing in relationships, learning how to connect with people, interconnection, or going on a retreat where you're seriously connected to nature so that you remember, oh yeah, I am one with the earth. I am connected to this beautiful planet, and I can receive the energy and the beauty, and wow, how much does that inspire me in the rest of my life?
I absolutely love what you just said about the retreat, because I've just literally I was just about to, before this, about to sign up to a men's retreat out in nature before you said that.
That's
Before
awesome.
there's no coincidence, the way it works, but like, yeah, it's super exciting. And I love what you said about like investing to open up yourself, and not just the mind, just you as like a whole human being, or kind of like the person inside of you, that wisdom. I love it, Lindsay. So yeah, Lindsay, really enjoyed talking today, and I know there's so much more you could share. If the listener would like to get hold of you or find out more about your work, where's the best place they can find you or contact you?
The best place is to come and follow me on Instagram. I'm on there as at 5sightsco. So I'm sure you'll put that in the notes, Johnny.
Yeah.
FIVESIGHTS, as in 5 ways of seeing, 5 sights. And I am opening spots. If you send me a DM with the word abundance, I am giving away 10 free abundance audits. And so this is a session where I sit down with you over Zoom, and I do a little bit of kind of like an energy and money audit. I call it an abundance audit because when we get talking, we touch on the 5 areas of abundance, which are money, creativity, time, your trust in the unknown, and love. And I can do a little bit of an assessment with you, and it kind of almost like an energy read, but also on the practical side of understanding where are you at with your money. And we can really get a sense of like, well, what is your state? What state are you in? Especially if you're in one of these 7 faces of money shame, because that will be holding you back, no matter if you're running your business, if you are in a career, or if you're in relationships with people, intimate relationships. Definitely money shame impacts so many areas of life. And I really want to help people move forward in the most life-affirming way. And that's where we can start.
Awesome. Love it, Lindsay. Yeah, we'll be sure to link your Instagram in the bio below. So yeah, would definitely recommend following Lindsay and getting in touch with support for that, because you don't want to be holding yourself back. So once again, a massive thank you, Lindsay, for coming on the show today and everything you shared.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Great speaking with you.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.